Welcome to Lead, Learn, Connect, where we explore the world of learning and development. Not just the how of helping people grow, but the behind the scenes work of making this a success. My guest today is Mitzi Van Cleave, the Learning and Development Specialist at Tang Company, based in California. Tang Company focuses on occupational health and safety. Mitzi focuses on the culture side of learning, including a wide range of soft skills and professional development. Mitzi has almost 20 years of experience as a trainer and a training manager. She has a master's in communication. Our focus today will be on key challenges for all trainers and facilitators, such as how do you keep learners engaged when you're dealing with a wide range of learning and communication styles, looking beyond the auditory, visual, and kinesthetic styles. Whether you're a new trainer, a seasoned facilitator, or just curious about what it takes to thrive in this world, this episode is for you. Welcome, Mitzi.
Hi, Alan. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's jump right in with engagement. That's a critical challenge that facilitators have, especially trainers. You're in a classroom, you're trying to engage a diverse group of people. What are some of the techniques you use to make that work?
Yeah, Alan. So, some strategies. So, depending whether it's like a live classroom or a virtual classroom, I think those platforms and modalities, like there's different things that you can definitely use, right? In a classroom, you're right in front of them, you're engaging, you're live, you're not, you're like kind of three-dimensional. So there's a lot of things that you can do with, handouts, questions, boards where people can go up and be interactive with each other live. But virtual training is really where I've been kind of fostering as in the last few years. And that is definitely a challenge. Some of those pieces, though, that we can use gamification. We can use polls. We can have the different, so depending on what platform you're using, you have features like the chat box. You have like they could raise their hand, bring their voices into the room. You have the emojis. The emojis are probably the most fun when people react to something that you say, a heart or any type of messaging using kind of like some of those AI features. That would be primarily what I try to use a lot is the discussion chat box. I feel like just depending on that learner, maybe they might be a little bit shy or maybe they could be outgoing, but I found the chat feature to be the most viable as of late training.
Okay. How about when you design your training content? What are some things you think about besides the gamification, the emojis? Those are the things that keep people's energy up. But what about in terms of connecting with the material, the content?
Well, the number one thing is not have too much on your slide. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over the years. If you have too much, then they're spending the time like trying to navigate through your slide and then also trying to listen to you as you're, trying to share what's on the slide, or maybe even using those animations where your point about when, okay, I really want you to know this, so I'll reveal it at this point. Another mentor of mine shared with me is like kind of really like when making that slide, you got to really think about what you want them to take away and learn from that slide. Don't just have just like something on there because you have to fill a space. Be very specific to what you want the learner to take away because they're going to remember that. They'll remember that one piece that you didn't take time on and not, take the time to really like resonate with the stuff that you want them to know. So every slide matters no matter what.
Okay. And just to bring in the team communication styles, you've scored highest in two opposite styles. You scored highest in the engage style, which is the style that wants to get up at the board and wants to hit the emojis and get everybody moving and going. gamification appeals to the E, engaged style. They're very engaged. And then the other style you scored high in is A, which is the analytical, deliberative, thoughtful, detailed kind of person. And so as you talk about your design, you talk about keeping the slides short, keep getting people up and moving. That's all a lot of that is the E style. What do you do for the engagers who have a million questions and want to slow things down? I mean, for the analyzers who have a million questions, want to slow things down, want you to give more examples, and the engagers are ready to rock and roll. Let's keep moving. We're going well. How do you balance those two?
I think that when you start off your training, it's really important to kind of set that stage where you ask them to pop questions in the chat, or also let them know at ahead of time, hey, we're going to have a spot where we're going to be able to have open forum for questions. But even as a trainer, like if somebody's not getting something, and maybe you know that they're an introvert, they're not really like engaging, and they do pop that question in there, it might be relevant for other people to be able to answer that question for others. So awareness is, I think, is really important to, especially if you're using tools on virtual, to be able to answer their questions, because you don't want, you get an introvert to actually ask a question. You do not want to miss that opportunity at all. So I think setting things up, making sure people, feel that we have a plan, we have a place for you, but also be aware of like what's going on with the people that are with you in the training.
Okay, so clear structure, laying it out ahead of time, letting people know how they can fit in, letting the engagers know we're going to have some fun, letting the analyzers know we're going to have time for you. We've got places for you to ask your questions. We're going to pause. You've got the chat. So kind of giving both ends of the spectrum um, kind of hope at the beginning that this is going to work for them. I think a lot of people come
Hopefully.
to training, yeah, and it's like, oh, this isn't going to work for me. I had a bad experience, and it's either way too much information, not enough information, too much fun, not enough fun. So you're kind of letting people know up front that we're going to have some of everything, and we'll make room for everybody.
Absolutely. And don't forget to end, right? Like stay on the training call a little bit longer for those who maybe want to hang around a little bit with you. Open that as an opportunity. Also, extending the, hey, direct message me, reach out if you have any questions after the fact. Because sometimes people don't want to ask questions during that time, but or later they process the information, they take time to do that, and then they have questions. Don't just close the door at the end of the day. Oh, learning's done. It's 12 noon, so we don't have any more questions for you to answer.
So how does that work in reality? You work in a relatively small company. You get to see probably the same people over a course of a year. Do people engage with you? Do they follow up with questions? Do you do anything to promote that outside of the classroom?
Sometimes they do. I think it's just being available that really makes a difference. I tend to work more of a hybrid schedule, so I'm not always in one of our main like buildings. But when I am there, I like to pop around to the different areas to just like say hi or just to show 'em my face. I think visibility is really big, is because right we have this two dimension, right, this screen going on, and so a lot of times you can't get a feel for like how somebody is. Now, a lot of times people don't have that. It's just 100% remote at the end of the day, but we have like chats, or we have other avenues where we do different trainings, where I'm in charge of the well-being initiative. So I'm able to bring a different perspective to the all staff. Not just like, here's your professional development, or here is your compliance. You have to show up to attend. So I do have some different ways that I'm able to connect with them. Doesn't have to be this one way.
Okay, great. And how do you go about deciding what you're going to teach? Is there a set curriculum? The orders come down from above? Is it an engaging process? How do you work with management to prioritize what the topics are going to be?
I'm super lucky that my VP that I work with has an ear to so many avenues. And so a lot of my direction kind of comes from my VP, where that information will be cascaded. Like we can plan ahead, right? You can always plan, like right now, it's February now, but like we're planning, like what's the scope of the year look like? Can I research and see what the trends are, AI something, chat GPT something, see what's going on, see what, like our hub says, the different training development platforms. But what's really like the pulse? I think that's a lot of times it comes like, what are our managers having challenges with? What is our staff having challenges? So, like, hearing the circulation around, like, what's going on in that communication coming, sometimes that is where we'll pivot, or a department will come to us and say, I really need this. What can you help me with? And so that kind of like inserts into our planning. We have our pre-plan of what we think we should do for the year, but we're always trying to find a way to open up to, if you're coming to us and you need something, we're probably going to make this happen for you because there's a need.
Okay, so a lot of communication in
A
the
lot.
you're in the human resources area, so people have their ear to the
Yeah.
ground to hear what's going on and make
Yeah.
some changes.
Yeah, and we
Well,
really want to help and support people. I think that's like the biggest takeaway of the department that I live in. Really support. We're here to help you navigate, be better, grow, be the best you can be.
okay. And have you found there are certain areas that are most challenging to managers or the areas that they most want you to, you know, do some training for their team or for themselves?
And I don't think it necessarily, is one place I've ever worked. I think it just across the board, I think generally speaking, is just going with like different soft skills. I find that is something that needs to be navigated often, and like how we relate to people. How do we speak to people? How candid we can or cannot be, and just really having that professional divided line across the board. It doesn't have to be one place or another of where I've worked in the past. I think we're always dealing with people as a trainer, right? As a speech communication, you know, degree holder. I just find like relating to people is so important. Trying to navigate the different ways that we can meet people where they're at and figuring out a way to support them in a positive way.
Okay. So, they call them the soft skills, but they're not
Yeah.
so easy, right?
They are not very easy. Sometimes they're hard. They're very
Yep.
hard, but
Okay. And, other areas that you focus on besides soft skills? Do you do any of the technical training, or is that, somebody else that handles that?
somebody else handles like technical training. I'm probably more versed in doing more culture training, like new hire culture training, bringing like, that well-being initiative to the table, like, learning how to, have what do they usually call it, work life balance, typically, anything they need on that professional side of things. We probably will be looking more into maybe some conflict resolution, conflict management. Can't really give away, like, too much what we have planning this year, yet, because it's not baked quite yet.
Okay.
But, in the past, like, soft skills, I think are really, really big. That resilience, adaptability. Life is changing, right? Every day, like, in the environments that we live and, we just gotta be a resource and a source to support.
So, yeah, I keep hearing one theme coming through real clear is support, helping people get on board, work-life balance. So, when you talk about culture, it sounds like a big part of that culture is wanting to take care of people and wanting people to feel good, feel supported, not overwhelmed,
Mhm.
onboarding them to help them have a good entry in, not just popping them in and saying, "Go to work. Here's your forms and have a good day." Um,
Yes.
so what else would you describe as part of culture development. Are there other parts to that? What's the, kinda areas of focus for that?
Well, I think connectivity, right? Making people feel like they're connecting to the organization. A lot of times people come aboard and they have no idea like what's like we're virtual, right? Virtual, remote, hybrid. Like it's not necessarily this 9 to 5 where everybody comes to the brick and mortar location and we see each other every day. We're have different ways that we work now, right? Or show up at work. And with that being said, we have to really find ways to be able to connect to people, whether it's in your own team dynamic, your team group. When I think of culture and like onboarding people, is really letting them really understand like who we are, like how am I showing up with the environment that I live, and trying to like connect that the relationship, starting with just simple conversation, just simple communication. I think it's really important to, give everybody as much information as you can, and they can make choices on what they want to do with it at the end of the day. I believe that just being available is really, really important, and finding a way to connect with people, whether it's through trainings, whether it's through the different initiatives that we have, whether it's companies will have their town halls or connect, in different ways where they get together in departments. But I would definitely say that's one major thing, is finding a way to connect with people so you don't feel like you're alone on an island and you have nobody to reach out to. So,
Yeah, so connecting with you as a support person, someone that they can go to, but also trying to get departments to connect and
mhm,
people to feel part of the whole company, not part of
mhm.
their silo. Silos is an issue that comes up in many
Yeah.
companies that I've
Yeah.
got my department, your department, we don't talk to each other. Are there any initiatives or training that you do that kind of focuses on that level of connectivity, that getting departments to collaborate and work better together?
Not like directly for this partner for that department, but I would definitely say any of our like well-being or DIB initiatives, or any type of training that we can all come together as an all staff that everybody's invited to. I think that's a really great opportunity for people to say, "Oh, you're from that division. Oh, you're from that department," and bringing that life into the virtual room. That's primarily what, I'm working on these days.
So as part of any training you do, you try to have people introduce themselves and get a little familiar
Mhm.
with, other parts of the company.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest, way, and definitely asking those questions, like, what's, if you're in a smaller pool, like, I tend to like more of a, like, a 7 to 12 group, any more than that, it gets a little bit harder to connect, but there are still ways, to be able
Mhm.
to do that, but being able to, like, "Hey, I like to surf." I don't like to surf, but I like to surf, but somebody else likes to surf, and now they've made a connection even though they're in completely different states.
Yeah.
They figure out, "Oh, I know something about somebody. I'm not, just like the lone surfer over here." And I say that being in California.
Yeah.
Big surf culture out here.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, trying to find that personal piece amidst the
Mhm.
professional. One thing that's always been curious to me is how people end up in the learning and development world. Most of us don't start out with that, and
True.
something happens, and we take a turn, and we find ourselves there, and we enjoy it, and I've been doing it for years. Could you talk a little bit about how you ended up in learning development? What was your, piece and kinda why you stayed in it for so long?
Yeah. Alan, I love this question because I feel I kind of bring a different, unique perspective to the table here. I just like you said, we get into it a little bit later. And I had, gone to college. I was doing my thing. And then I left college. I didn't finish when we're supposed to, right? 23, 24 years old. And I got into management because, oh, this is a paycheck. I think I could do this. But my natural personality in those jobs always put me towards the HR, the hiring, the training. I naturally went to that. And then I went back to school, and that's when I focused. So I kind of had like career started first, and that kind of developed into my love. I have a plethora of teachers in my background, in my family. And so it's natural, I think, that I went towards that direction. But I fell in love with people. I fell in love with learning, creating things, being able to like teach somebody something and then adult learning principles. Before I knew it was adult learning principles, being able to teach it back to the trainer, and you really feel that sense of like just like connectiveness that people take something from you. So that's when I went back to school and I focused on the communication part, the training and the development part. And so, yeah, I continue to stay in this because I love people. I love people. I love that interaction, which is really surprising because I do tend to be more of an introvert, and people are really surprised when I tell them that. But I am an introvert. I'm a learner. I'm an observer. I sit back. But at the same time, I think connecting with people has been really an important driver for me to stay in training and development. And then now we have a whole new world, right? We didn't know about this virtual learning until like after certain things happen in the world. But we just keep learning and adapting and connecting in different ways. And that's kinda how I stay in this, because I just like people. People are great.
Yep. Yeah, well, again, you're a great illustration of the EA style. You love people, you love engaging, but at heart, you're an introvert. You need some time by yourself. You need some time to recharge, to look at numbers and do some analysis. Um, so you mentioned that we're always learning and growing, and online was there for years, but didn't really exist till the pandemic. It
Right.
came in full force. But you also mentioned micro learning earlier on. That's one of the things you do. So talk a little bit about that because that's kind of I think one of the newer aspects of how we design training.
Yeah, and as I've researched more and more, and I'm actually finding smaller chunks are going to develop retention, right? Because that's a big thing for me. I want you to be able to get something out of this, take something away from it, and be able to apply it in some way. And I feel like like 2 minute micro learnings, even up to like a little bit longer. It could be 5 to 7 minutes, but bits and chunks. I feel like through my research that people just, like, want you to give me what I need, and then I wanna go away. I wanna take what
Yeah.
and I wanna learn, and I wanna leave. Uh, so that's kinda, where I'm falling into the microlearning, and I think that's really gonna be a focus for me to use that muscle in trying to get this big content into smaller manageable chunks, even if I have to do a couple series of things, but kind of layering things with smaller manageable chunks.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, smaller people can grasp it, they can learn it, and they can put it
Yeah.
into use before they forget it because 'cause you've taught them something
Mhm.
else on top of that, so and is that mostly delivered through, a recorded learning, as opposed to live?
So we use I hear and I've had experience with multifaceted platforms. Primarily, we're going to do a virtual training or we'll do videos um or we'll do webinars even, and then a lot of times we'll record, of course, our virtual trainings, our ILTs, and then we'll make that video available for those people who work out of the main scope that couldn't come, right? So like your traditional people that can't work like an 8 to 5 or 7 to 4 uh, type uh, type workforce, right? We're such a different workforce, so we have to also find ways to meet other people to be able to get something as well.
Okay, so, big focus on support, individualization, caring about
Hmm.
people, connecting, some really nice themes, so thank you, Mitzi. We're
You're
about out of
welcome.
time, so that's it for today's episode of Lead, Learn, and Connect. A huge thank you to Mitzi Van Cleave for sharing her experience and expertise. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and leave a review. You can find out more about Mitzi and her work in the show notes. And if you're ready to strengthen how you teach communication, click the link to our website to learn more about the team model of communication and follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep leading with intention, keep learning, and keep connecting. Thanks for listening.